All right, welcome back to part two of my sleeper PC build. I got the black PLA, so we reprinted this cover. Looks so much better, doesn't look like something gross behind the translucent plastic. We also got the adapter board. I'll put a link to this in the description down below. No idea if it works or not, but for the floppy drive, get that working, and then we have the cables for the card reader. So let's go ahead, flip the computer around and slide this in. All right, so we have the adapter here that takes the internal USB 2 header and converts it to USB type A. We have the card reader plugged in. We also pre-installed the SATA cable just because it's going to be hard to get access to that once everything's in. I'll go ahead and slide it in now. All right, I take that back. We have a second SATA cable in there for the DVD drive, and I went ahead and plugged in power as well. So that way we just slide this back in. Fingers crossed everything fits in here. I also adjusted the cable for the power switch. The black and red are for the power button, so I plugged that in. It also grabs some LEDs on here. We'll see if that works or not. I'm not 100% sure if that's all correct. So we may have to be back in here, but that should be pretty easy for us to get to after it's all put together. And we've run into a pretty big problem. This cage won't slide in all the way. It's interfering with the CPU cooler quite significantly. So it looks like I'm going to have to take all this apart and cut out a pretty healthy section of this cage, so that way we can slide it in. I need quite a bit of space, probably a full 2 inches, maybe 1.5 to 2 inches, for this to be able to go all the way in. So we will be back after some cutting and grinding, which won't happen right now because it is 100 degrees outside and like 35-40% humidity. So I'm gonna let it cool off a little bit outside before I start cutting things up. All right, so I cleared out the drive cage and we cut it so it now clips into place correctly. We've got a little bit of space around the fan. If you're going to do something like this, and I can see I have a couple places I need to clean up still, do yourself a favor and go over it with a Dremel or piece of sandpaper or file or something. Clear off all the burrs that you are absolutely going to cut yourself on. So before I did that, I wanted to make sure that it fit. I probably cut a little bit more than I absolutely needed to, but I'm okay with that because I'm not going to have anything in those bays anyways. So I'm gonna clean up the burrs and things because you will cut yourself on that later, or somebody else will, and it only takes a few seconds to clean those up. All right, again, I apologize for the fan noise. It's like 98 degrees and 40% humidity today, so I have my AC running. It's hot. Everything's in now. Everything's fitted. Everything's, I think, power cabled up and everything. Funny thing, this is a pretty old monitor. I've had this for going on 12-13 years now, and it only has 2 ports at the back. It has VGA and DVI. This motherboard does support both of those, so I went with DVI just because supposedly gets a better video signal. I don't know if it makes that big of a difference on a LCD like this. Let's go ahead and hit the power button. Wish me luck. Oh. All right, I hear the hard drive spin up. CPU fan is not spinning. Give it just a moment here. Huh. So something happened, but I hear the hard drive spinning, but I don't hear, and I think I see the CD-ROM drive spinning, but the CPU fan is not spinning. Let me go ahead and shut it off and make sure that's all plugged in the way it's supposed to be. I'm pretty sure I plugged that into the header for the CPU fan, but let me double check that. Oh, and is this Make sure there's just nothing in the fan. It's keeping it from spinning. Oh, there we go. Oh, there was just something in the fan. Okay. So now the fan is spinning. This does feel like it's blowing air onto the CPU, which is good. And then this should be pulling air. Yeah, that's pulling air out. Let me try input on this. It looks like it's power cycling a little bit. I'm hoping that just means it's doing the memory read for the first time for the CPU. I did make sure that the BIOS was up to date and supported this CPU before doing this. Alright, well, it's just power cycling for right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and pause the camera and we will come back if it does anything different. All right, so we're putting the 1400 back in. I am going to check the BIOS. It was just power cycling, which from a quick search tells me that it's the not an updated BIOS. I was pretty sure I updated this, but it might have updated just for the 1400, whatever the latest was, the compatible with that CPU, and not a version that's compatible with the later CPU. So that's probably on me, and something I probably should have definitely checked before starting this process. But fortunately, we did have the old CPU that we can throw back in that I know works, and we will boot it with that one in there and check that BIOS. All right, hello and welcome to back to the video. It's been a week for me since the last piece of this video, and for you it's been no time at all. So just to summarize what we did so far, we have the drive cage here. We had to cut a little bit of that to slide in. That worked great. We tried to power on the system with the new CPU, which is over here, and it was just boot looping. And I realized that this system board had the BIOS, the most up-to-date BIOS for the older generation of CPUs. So I thought, oh, that's an easy fix. We need a updated BIOS for the new CPU. Easy. I slapped in the old CPU that was in here and powered it on, and nothing happened. I was getting no display. And then my dumb brain realized, oh, hey, the old chip doesn't have a GPU, an integrated GPU. It has nothing, and so I needed an extra or a GPU. And I went through the GPUs that I have, and all of them were too big to fit in this case. So I went on eBay and bought a GPU so that I can install an updated BIOS on here. And I ended up going with a AMD RX 470. I don't even know. It was 30 bucks. Yeah, RX 470 8 gig. So it was 30 bucks. I'm pretty sure this was like an old mining GPU. It works, so I'm not too worried about it. You know, the system powered on. I'll show you that here in a second. One problem I'm running into, I have to run it in the lower full length slot because it doesn't fit in the top slot at all. The problem with that is the lower slot is only a 4X. Or PC, yeah, it only has 4 lanes of 16 lanes. It also runs at a slower speed. But that's fine because we don't plan on actually using this graphics card. Oh, that's the video cable. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll put it back in. Plug in the video cable again that I just unplugged. The nice thing about this being an older card is it also has a DVI port, which is great because that monitor is DVI. This DVI, it's the better than VGA. Of course, this also has HDMI on it. So, but for what we have, it works. And then I updated this USB drive to have the latest and greatest BIOS version. So let's go ahead, plug that in, and now we have display. Did it recognize my push of the button? Sweet. So it's kind of hard to see the screen, but we're running P 3.5, and I looked up on ASRock's website, and it's 8.10, so that's why I have downloaded, or 8.01. So we have 8.01 on there, and we're going to update it. And we'll let this run. I'll pause this video here. We will come back after it's updated, and I've swapped over the CPUs, and we'll see if the other CPU boots. So, and we'll take the graphics card out as well, because I want to run with just the CPU, because I don't think this has enough cooling for that graphics card. Plus, with it running in that lower slot, I don't know if we'll get enough performance out of it. I guess we'll see. We'll see. All right, we'll be back. All right, moment of truth. We got the BIOS update. I verified that it was updated after a reboot. We pulled the graphics card out right there. We have the new CPU in. We'll flick this switch, so armed, and push the button. Now this may take a minute just because new CPU takes a while to register all the RAM in the system, so fingers crossed. And keep an eye on the CPU fan to make sure it's not just turning off and back on again like it was before, indicating it just power cycling. Oh, there we go. New CPU installed. Press Y to reset FTPM. Yes. All right, there we go. We have the B450M Pro 4 P8.01. I think I said 8.1, but it's 8.01 with the AMD Ryzen 5 5600 GT. We have our 16 gigs of RAM. Does it show us our drives? Storage. So we have our two drives here. I think that's the 3 terabyte and that's the 256 gig drive, I believe. So we'll go ahead. I have Windows 11 ready to install on the system. I won't make you wait for me to do that. I'll go ahead and install Windows 11 and see how everything looks. Oh, I also got to plug in back in the USB floppy adapter, and we'll do some cleaning up here and put the side panels and stuff on now that we know it boots. So we'll come back to hopefully a cleaner looking system with Windows 11 installed. All right, I cannot tell you how grateful I am that I decided to not live stream this thing, because it is taking me literal days to get Windows installed on the machine. I don't know why. I have both a Windows 11 and a Windows 10 bootable USB that I created specifically for this. Fresh ISOs, fresh USB drives, and this computer took forever to read the USB drives from the USB ports in the back of the machine. So, I'm not going through the adapter in the front or anything, in their USB 3 point whatever ports in the back. But it was so slow. And then for whatever reason, Windows 11 would not recognize, Windows 11 and Windows 10 would not recognize this drive, though it was seen in the BIOS. And it's recognized on other systems. I have a USB to M2 drive adapter. So it's a good drive. I know it's a good drive. I don't know why it won't work in this system. So finally got it Windows installed on I have a 2.5 inch SATA drive in there that we're using. Now what we're going to do is we are going to plug this little guy in. This is my Wi-Fi adapter. It has worked in everything without needing to install additional drivers, so hopefully it works this time. We're going to go through, do the full Windows install process, and install a few games just to kind of get an idea of what we are getting with this. And as I said before, all these games I'm going to do are from my GOG or goodoldgames.com, GOG.com library. So nothing too spectacular, but definitely some bigger ones on there that I hope my kids will enjoy. So we'll be back after we've done some updates and installed some benchmarking and a couple games. All right, I think I'm finally done. This project was way bigger than I expected it to be, partially because of bad parts, waiting on stuff to be shipped from eBay, some custom fab I wasn't expecting to do. All in all, it was a fun project for me. I know I didn't include you guys in everything because I didn't think you guys wanted to sit and watch me check shipping constantly like I've been doing. But let's go ahead and actually do some benchmarking and some gaming on this to kind of see what we have going for us. So let me go ahead and adjust the camera and we'll be right back. All right, so we went ahead and ran the Passmark benchmark. We got a score of 2826 with a 3D mark of 2644. That's pretty good for what I consider an integrated solution. Better than most laptops with a integrated GPU, and even some with the dedicated GPUs that I've tested recently. So pretty good, I think. The one concern I had, go ahead and close this out, was temperatures. When running the test, it did peak at 91.5, but actually for the most part, it stayed around like the 75-degree point. I was worried about it getting too hot, and that's one reason why I did not go with a dedicated graphics card, because I don't think this case is capable, at least not without some serious modification, in getting the heat out. Also, there just isn't a lot of room, so there's not a lot of graphic cards that would fit in there, so that's also a concern. Now my office is pretty hot right now. We're still in the middle of summer. It's very humid outside. My AC, my portable AC is going. That's why it's so loud in here, because even with that going, it is over 85 degrees in my office. So that is the temperature that we're dealing with. I think in the cooler months, we will have much better temperatures, but even now, just sitting at idle, we're at 39 degrees. So pretty good. We'll leave this open. One thing that I keep running into is the 3 terabyte drive I threw in here. It's very slow to be recognized every time something wants to open the smart reader for it, or the smart information. It is very slow to load. And I think part of the reason is it came out of my old NAS drive, and it has almost 51,000 hours of power on time, which is over 5 years. That's what the calculator was up for. This did come out of my NAS over 5 years. Actually seems low because I had that on for longer than that, I think. Maybe? I don't know. 129 power cycles seems about right. Anytime I lost power or moved it or whatever. So it has a lot of hours on it. Most of those are just idling. I don't do a ton of read writes to my NAS drive. I usually use it to just back stuff up from, or to play the occasional video on. I do have MSI Afterburner running, so it should give us the frame rates and stuff. Let's go ahead and load up a game here. We'll do Skyrim, because I think, and I haven't done anything, no sound device. Oh, give me a second, grab some headphones. All right, I went ahead and grabbed my AKG K6 K240s. I almost said K62 because I'm that old. And we will go ahead and pull up Elder Scrolls Skyrim, play. We have our CPU and our temps and our frame rates up there. Loading the game. And I'm targeting about 30 frames per second. It is on ultra. We could probably drop that down to get a few more frame rates. A few more frames per second. But that's even at 20 frames per second, kind of get to a point where we can actually get some gameplay and see how that looks. So let me skip ahead a little bit and we'll see what our actual gameplay looks like. Alright, we're into gameplay, and it is just that mid 20 FPS, but it's a very stable FPS. So I've played on systems that had technically a higher frame rate, but the lag was so bad that it was almost unplayable. So I'm gonna go into here, settings, gameplay. Feels weird. No, that's weird. All right. Oh, that's right. Okay. But it's a very stable 25-ish frames per second up to 30. And so we should be running here in just a minute. And then what I'll do is save, exit, so I don't have to go through the intro again. And then, can I save here? Can you save? Yeah. So let's quit. Alright, so we closed out and reloaded the game, all with high settings this time instead of ultra. And I will say that, you know, we're definitely getting better, about 10 more frames per second. I'm not trying to play this game very well. I'm going to probably die at this point, but no, that's not the point. But definitely, I would consider this to be extremely playable with the integrated graphics. It is not dropping into an unplayable frame rate. There's no lag, no hiccups. It looks really good even with the lower frame rate, so not unhappy at all with this on high settings. Let's go ahead and close out and go into the next game that I think is the next highest I shouldn't say highest, the next game that says intense on the hardware. Alright, so we have BioShock remastered, and just show you, we have it native resolution, we have things somewhat okay. And if we go back to the game, new game, easy. It's always funny when the frame rates just spike when you go into the menus. getting over 100 frames per second in here. That's pretty good. I'll take it. Not unhappy with that at all. Down to the 90s. The biggest thing is that CPU temperature, the thing I was most worried about. It's doing a-okay. Got some fog hitting us. Anyways, so those are the two games I planned on playing. Really good in Bioshock Remastered. Skyrim could stand a little bit of help. We might drop those graphics down just a little bit to medium and get a much better frame rate on there, or keep them where they're at, depending on how playable it is as we get further into the game. If there's anything specific you would like to see in the game, as far as, or on this system, as far as any games on GOG, if you want to send me a code to get, if I don't already have the game, or if you have a specific game you'd like to play, let me know. I may have it, I may not. I do have quite a few games on GOG. So anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you have an amazing day.